Hello, thanks for listening to The Cusp. We just wrapped up our first season, where 15 guests joined me to share their thoughts on how AI is changing jobs and what those shifts mean for education and job training. My producer Mike Palmer and I put together some brief highlights from this episode. This is a complex, fast-moving topic, one filled with uncertainty. It's probably an understatement. But some common themes emerged in these interviews, and you can hear some of that in the following sound bites. I'm looking to return in 2025. Our plan is to open up the show a little bit and to focus more broadly on workforce education. The labor market is poised for big changes, with fewer young people in the education pipeline as technology increasingly transforms work. Post-secondary education, meanwhile, is continuing to shift as industrial policy plays out across industries and local economies. Let me know what you'd like to hear on the show and who we should be interviewing. This podcast is unfunded, and WorkShift is producing it on our own dime. As a result, I haven't been able to do more than one episode a month. If you'd like to hear more of these interviews, please consider supporting The Cusp. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. We'll catch you in 2025.
Now, it doesn't have to change everything. I think it's a little bit of a mistake sometimes that it's a light switch perspective, right? It's either completely changing everything or not changing anything. But you can see, even if it changed and reduced 15% of the writing time on pulling a creative document together, that's 15% of time that can be allocated to something else. And so starting to see that come on and starting to see how quickly people adopted it and how much it took people back, it really struck me as this is the thing that we have to get on top of. And when I was sending emails to colleagues, I was like, this isn't an important thing. I said, this is the only important thing. And so that was just that feeling of we're dealing with something that we can integrate into our human cognitive system.
I think the disruption of jobs is in the 1 to 3 years. And I think by 5 years, you can't remember a day where this wasn't part of your daily life.
Once it starts working in your life, you don't call it AI anymore. So really what this generative AI thing is it's sparking a conversation within a lot of organizations about like, oh, what could we add more technology to that's currently kind of a drudgery or a pain in the butt process.
This is a large language model, not a large knowledge model. So when you're playing with it, ask yourself, what am I doing with a tool that is really good at predicting language? Not what am I doing with a tool that has all the knowledge of the internet on it? Because what the AI has learned is about a pattern recognition related to what word should come next in this sentence. And then there's some randomization, and that's my oversimplified perspective. But I think playing with these tools with the right mindset allows you to see their limitations a little bit faster and engage with them a little differently in my experience.
I think I'm hopeful. And I'm thinking about a personal anecdote from, 10 years ago. So I am a domestic violence survivor. And 10 years ago, I found myself navigating the support systems in New York City, the legal systems in New York City. And I got connected to a wonderful social worker who came with me to my court appointments, who listened to me, who validated my feelings, who gave me perspectives that I could then move on to. And, I think that if AI had been around there, then her job could have been a lot easier.
Can we replace educators with AI? Definitely. Should we? That's a different question. And that brings us back to how do you build those durable skills that are going to really be differentiators in the workforce? And I don't think it's skills that an AI avatar is going to be able to do. It's like, engaging classroom experiences have to be led by capable teachers. So I think the good outcome, and I think what we're seeing is that there's, the best case scenario is that AI it allows us to automate the most rudimentary and mundane aspects of teaching, gives teachers more time to focus on cultivating those engaging classroom experiences.
Earlier, there was a lot of emphasis on to code. But now I believe anything that has a structure and a logic, AI is able to replicate it. And in terms of the skills that's going to be more relevant would be what we call the soft skills or the durable skills. We really need people who can critically think. Like, it's no longer important that can you code or can't code, for instance. Like, do you know where you have to code or in like what way?
And what AI, I hope, is prompting us to do is to go back to that question of why is education important? Is education important to get students to regurgitate facts, to be able to answer multiple choice questions? Is it important to get them a job? Is it important to build good citizens who understand how to navigate our society? Is it important to eliminate some of the disadvantages by what zip code you're born in, or what income your parents have, or what jobs your parents have? So I think we have to really think about, why do we send kids to school? Why are we teaching? Like, why are these the subjects that we study? And how can AI and its appearance in the world, just like a calculator, hubbubaloo about calculators in math class.
Absolutely.
We came around and said, well, here's what's really important. And I think we got it wrong. If you remember, about 15 years ago, there was a major shift in math education where we're like, oh, we're letting them use calculators too early and they've lost their numerical fluency. And so how we are going to deal with AI is going to be really similar.
Doubling down on durable skills is the beginning, middle, and end of our thinking about this so far. Just our own research released last November is showing that those are going to be the skills that are sustained even as AI comes to the forefront, and can create opportunities for AI to unlock those skills in new ways, which is really exciting. And so the more that we can help prepare people at all levels of our education workforce system to leverage those kinds of skills, especially as the half-life of technical skills is constantly shortening, even as AI skills themselves will continue to evolve as the technology changes, that's going to be essential.
We need to sort of demystify, lower the pressure around the fear-mongering of AI is going to take over everything and, it's going to replace all jobs. Jobs will shift. New jobs will be created. New ways of doing things are going to emerge. We're still at the beginning.
My ongoing advice to people who work in this space is go where the demand is, go where employers are willing to act differently. And that's where you're going to start to get momentum for the skills industry and initiative, and where it will really take off. And once employers start, I don't think they're going to go back. Once they start looking at skills rather than degrees, it'll become ingrained in their companies. But I think it's going to take an industry by industry movement over time.
My argument is, let's just do it. Let's not just talk about it. Let's do it. I'm taking a Spanish class on Saturday mornings. And in that class, was a young man who turned out he started off wanting to do engineering. Then he switched to computer science. And then he decided those jobs were disappearing. So he's going into data science. So he found out I knew something about it. He asked for help. But the social networks are not as strong in some communities as in other communities.
Sure.
There's no information. There's no information for a kid like that to make decisions. And it really brought it home to me. This is really not just an academic discussion. It's affecting people's lives.
The future of labor is the linking of labor. It is humans doing things together in ways only humans can. And I will say for your audience, especially, what excites me the most is if you have spent your life trying to bring equity to the economy, equity to mobility, every generation where people have thought that, including ours up until now, have lived in a world where the inequities were so entrenched, they were explicit and then they became implicit but entrenched, that you couldn't imagine fixing the system. You just tried to figure out a way here or there to pilot or to build a program or get some level of change, some level of momentum. As we move into this relationship economy, suddenly the core skills, resilience, empathy, critical listening, guess who has all the right skills for all the wrong reasons? Historically marginalized groups who have had to use those core human traits to hack the systems that have blocked or locked them out of opportunity. And so I think for all of us who do this work with that cause in mind, the goal right now is to make sure we understand this change and the story of this change, and that we are sharing this story with those we are trying to help and helping them at a very basic level action this by starting to tell a story of self that is based on the skills they've got already. not the skills they need to get or the degree they don't have or the people they don't know.
You can present anything and it can be the best thing out. But if you don't change the mind shift and the way people think about things, if you don't properly train and integrate, and if you aren't preparing the young people to see the value of this tool and how it can help them and not hinder them, how it adds to their efficiency, how it gives them time, doesn't take time, how it's already, in many young people's cases, really just what you're using already. It's just an accelerated event and just you enhancing it. If you don't change the narrative, what happens is it just becomes another thing, another tech tool on the side that, put it on the shelf as things that were introduced. Then that's where the gap comes in. So I'm optimistic for the point that it's there and the opportunity and the potential is there. I'm concerned that leaders in the space, decision makers, won't prioritize, accountability. They won't prioritize access and opportunity, and they won't prioritize the training and resources needed to bring everyone up.
Thanks for tuning into The Cusp. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe. You can visit us at thecusp.ai. The launch of this podcast was made possible by the collective philanthropic support of the Walmart Foundation, GitLab Foundation, Cognizant, and the K4 Center. Thanks to our supporters and to you all for listening. Catch you next time.